Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hey there.
This is where you bring us the raw material articles, research, maybe just your notes, and, well, we dig in.
Yeah, we pull out the core insights, the surprising facts, and basically help you get informed fast.
Think of it as us doing the sifting, through all the details.
So you walk away with the distilled knowledge and a really clear sense of what's interesting and important about the topic you shared with us.
And for this deep dive, we're exploring something that feels, well, very forward-looking.
Definitely.
We're looking at several innovative clinics and methods. They're approaching health, wellness, and longevity in ways that really go beyond traditional medicine.
And the sources you gave us are a fascinating mix. We've got descriptions, philosophies, right from these different practices themselves.
Yeah, it gives a real window into the diverse ways people are thinking about optimizing health, like right now.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is to unpack these examples. We want to understand the different approaches they're taking.
Right, and it's a real spectrum. You've got high-tech diagnostics, specific biological interventions.
All the way to methods rooted in like bioindividuality, even energetic principles.
Exactly. It's about seeing the different frontiers being explored in this, well, it's evolving space.
Okay, so to start unpacking this, it probably helps to understand a key idea. It seems to underpin a lot of these newer approaches.
Yeah, it's about a fundamental shift, really, in how we view aging itself.
Right. I think many of us grew up thinking of aging as just this passive thing, an inevitable decline.
Mhm.
But the perspective we're seeing in this material treats aging much more actively, not just a process, but maybe even a treatable condition.
Exactly. So Longevity Clinic, for example, they're quite explicit about this.
Yeah.
They basically state that, biologically speaking, aging can be seen as a pathology.
Wow. Okay.
And they point to research that's identified specific mechanisms, things like metabolic functions, immune system processes that, accumulate damage over time.
They see these tiny accumulated micro damages as the triggers for the physical and cognitive decline we associate with getting older.
Okay, so the insight here isn't just that aging happens, but that it happens through specific, identifiable biological pathways you can maybe intervene on.
Precisely. And the really exciting claim, or potential, is that by targeting these specific damage mechanisms, it might be possible not just to slow the whole process down,
Right.
but potentially even reverse some of that age-related degeneration.
And these clinics we're exploring, they represent different ways this core idea that aging isn't just passive decline, but involves active biological processes you can influence is actually being put into practice.
Yes, they offer a whole spectrum of how one might approach this, from the really highly data-driven to the more, let's say, holistic or energetic.
Okay, let's jump into the first example then. Soul Longevity Clinic. This one really seems to lean into that measurable, data-driven approach.
Yeah, Soul Longevity's mission is all about promoting longevity using advanced medical and scientific research.
Their vision is pretty compelling, actually. They talk about tomorrow's 60-year-olds having the health potential we associate with today's 40-year-olds.
That definitely sets a clear goal, and their philosophy seems to flow right from that idea of intervening on those damaged metabolic and immune mechanisms.
Exactly, and they use these really intensive diagnostic programs to pinpoint exactly where those issues might be happening in your specific body.
Okay, tell me about those diagnostics.
Well, their key one is the physio-age profile. The goal here is to go beyond just your chronological age
Right, your birthday age.
and measure your biological age.
Hmm.
It identifies the specific strengths and weaknesses of your system. And it's incredibly comprehensive.
How comprehensive.
It combines lab tests. We're talking 54 different parameters.
Hmm.
Things like hematochemical markers, so blood counts, blood chemistry,
Okay.
genetic markers, even epigenetic markers, focusing on metabolic function, inflammation levels, biological age itself.
Wow.
And then they combine that with instrumental analysis covering another 50 parameters.
50 more? Like what?
Things related to cardiorespiratory function, metabolism again, posture, body composition, even cognitive ability.
Okay.
And all this data gets reviewed across 5 specialist visits: coordinating doctor, nutritionist, cardiologist, physiatrist, neuropsychologist.
So they're building this truly detailed biological blueprint using, what, over 100 different data points?
Exactly. It's really about getting a deep, deep readout of your body's systems.
And they have something specific for brain health too, neuroage profile.
Yeah, the neuroage profile. That one's designed to estimate your cognitive age and identify any risk factors for neurodegeneration.
How does that work?
Well, like the physio age, it uses lab tests, genetic, epigenetic markers included. but it specifically combines these with an assessment of your current cognitive function.
So testing memory, attention.
Exactly. Across different areas like memory, attention, executive functions, the insight they get helps them see where your cognitive strengths and weaknesses are so they can tailor brain health programs just for you.
So, okay, once they have all this exhaustive data, how do they actually use it? How do they intervene?
Right. They implement therapeutic programs and they often combine them. One is called metabolic rebalance.
A nutritional program?
Yes, a nutritional program. But the goal isn't just weight loss. It's more about achieving metabolic harmony, reducing inflammation, and aiming to activate those genes associated with longevity. It's a structured 5-month program. It involves both in-clinic visits and monthly video check-ins.
And they have a specific training program to self-it.
Yes, Self-It. It's described as a therapeutic training program, so a bit different from just, going to the gym.
How so?
Well, it's mandatory in some cases, and the aim is to use movement specifically to rebalance metabolism, support cognitive function, improve musculoskeletal health, and, again, stimulate those longevity genes.
Okay.
They have 6 specific routines, apparently developed with input from places like Harvard Medical School, targeting areas like boosting metabolism or protecting your joints.
And Brain Boost is the cognitive training piece.
Correct. Based on what they find in the NeuroH results, Brain Boost is training designed to improve overall cognitive abilities by stimulating neuroplasticity.
Ah, the brain's ability to rewire itself.
Exactly. It targets specific areas identified in the assessment, like maybe improving memory or executive function. It's also a structured 5-month program,
Okay.
and it can include remote monitoring through a smart health bracelet, app access, dialogue with specialists.
What really stands out about Longevity is just how thoroughly they ground everything in measurable biological data, and then they build these very structured, almost programmatic interventions based on that data. It feels like a highly engineered approach to aging.
It's definitely a very scientific, mechanism-focused strategy, very data-driven.
Okay, now let's shift gears pretty dramatically. Let's talk about the Cochrane method. This seems to take us into a whole different paradigm.
It really does.
Bioindividuality, incorporating energetic approaches.
Yeah. The Cochrane method describes itself as functional health training, but with a scalable bioindividual approach. Yeah. That core concept, bioindividuality, is crucial here.
What does that mean exactly in their context?
It means they reject any kind of one-size-fits-all model. They really embrace the immense, complex uniqueness of each person's biology, their history, everything.
Okay, so how do they approach understanding all that complexity then?
Well, they talk about understanding the body through what they call as epigenetic portals.
Epigenetic portals.
Yeah, these are basically categories of influences. They list exogenous, so external things like diet, toxins, endogenous internal factors like hormones, your gut microbiome, physical structure, movement, and environmental like your living space, stress levels.
Got it.
Their belief is that looking at how your genes are expressed, because that's what epigenetics is about, how environment and lifestyle affect gene activity.
Right, not just the genes you have, but how they're working.
Exactly. Looking at that expression across these portals in a system-based way is the key to rebalancing the body. They look at genetic tendencies, environmental loads, even potential pathogens to see how it all interacts uniquely in you.
So it's really about seeing how all these different factors combine to create your specific current state of health.
Precisely. And their main program, the R3 program, reflects this. It combines guided work on the physical level, things we kind of understand, like diet, movement, targeted supplementation, integrative therapies. But it combines that with healing at an energetic level.
Energetic level. Okay, that sounds quite different from the metabolic and structural focus we were just talking about with Longevity.
It is. It's a different layer of approach, you could say. They use bioenergetics and they ground it in quantum biology.
Quantum biology.
Yeah. The idea is that beyond just the biochemistry, there are subtle energy fields influencing our health. And their methods are designed to work with these fields to supplement the biochemical work they're also doing. The R3 program aims for a really holistic outcome, targeting physical, emotional, even spiritual well-being to, as they put it, unlock potential.
And they introduce this concept of the biofield. What's that about?
Yes, the biofield is really fundamental to their method. They describe it as a complex energy field, both around and within the body,
Okay.
that sort of oversees the systems regulating our biological balance. They see it almost as an informational control system.
Like it's providing instructions.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Providing instructions that influence metabolic processes and ultimately how your health manifests. So restoring and maintaining the health of this biofield is presented as a really critical pillar of their work.
So their goal is partly about optimizing physical systems, sure, but also about raising overall energetic frequency and aligning the body's energies.
That's their stated aim when
Hmm.
working with clients, yes. And the sources mentioned they serve a really wide range of individuals, CEOs, athletes, entertainers, suggesting this approach is seen as beneficial, not just for, say, addressing illness, but also for things like expansive growth and connecting with a stronger sense of purpose or personal power.
It's a fascinating contrast, isn't it? Moving from Solengevity's super detailed analysis of physical mechanisms to an approach that brings in this concept of energetic fields as a key factor in health.
It really highlights the diverse ways people are conceptualizing and, well, working with the body beyond just conventional Western medicine. There are many different angles being explored.
Okay, let's look at Forward now. This one presents a very high-tech, proactive primary care model that feels different again.
Very different. Forward's stated mission is basically to fix healthcare, which they believe is, quote, backwards.
Right.
Their core focus is fundamentally different from traditional primary care. It's about keeping you healthy and being proactive, hence moving forward, as they put it, rather than just waiting around to treat you once you get sick.
They seem to build their whole model on some pretty explicit differences from how healthcare usually works.
They absolutely do. They highlight these key contrasts. Like traditional healthcare often means limited sort of episodic interaction, right? You see the doctor when there's a problem.
Yeah.
Forward aims for a continuous partnership. They offer a 247 care team available through their app and physical sites.
Okay.
And instead of confusing surprise bills, which, let's face it, is common,
Tell me about it.
they operate on one flat fee model. It's designed specifically to align their incentives with your health, not with the number of services they provide.
That's a big one.
Huge. They also swap out what they see as outdated tools for cutting-edge technology, built by their own engineers working alongside their doctors.
Interesting.
And crucially, they shift from reactive treatment to proactive management and early detection. Again, because their fixed fee model rewards keeping you healthy, not treating you when you're ill.
That fixed fee model really changes the game, doesn't it? It financially incentivizes prevention and, I guess, efficiency, too.
Absolutely.
What kind of technology are they using to actually enable all this?
Well, they use an intelligent system designed to empower their doctors. This includes things like remote biometrics monitoring from devices you might have at home,
Okay.
app-based care interactions, and predictive risk scoring to flag potential issues early on.
Predictive risk scoring.
So yeah, using data to see if you might be heading towards a problem. And during consultations, they use something called a collaborative smart screen.
What's that?
It lets them visualize your data lab results, biometric trends, that sort of thing right there with you. It makes the conversation really transparent and collaborative.
And the app is key to that 200/7 connection.
Yes, their advanced app gives you round-the-clock access. You can message your care team, have virtual visits, access your personalized health plan, get proactive follow-ups, all through the app.
They also list some advanced diagnostics that seem to go way beyond a typical primary care checkup.
For sure. They integrate diagnostics like genetic analysis.
Yeah.
And this isn't just for, like, ancestry tracing. It's used to understand your genetic predispositions for conditions, certain cancers, heart disease, diabetes, and even how you might respond to specific medications. This lets them build really personalized preventive plans.
Makes sense.
They also use remote biometric monitoring, so things like your blood pressure, temperature, pulse ox, tracked from home, feeding data back constantly so they can spot trends or anomalies early. They offer comprehensive skin cancer scans using advanced monitoring tech. And this is pretty cool. They have real-time blood testing right in the clinic.
Real time.
Yeah, providing results for common panels, cholesterol, liver function, kidney function, hemoglobin, etc. in as little as 12 minutes.
Wow.
So you can actually discuss the results and make a plan with your doctor right there on the spot.
The speed and the integration of that data for personalization really seems like a core strength for them.
It's absolutely central. Their whole model is built on leveraging data and technology to personalize care and continuously optimize your health strategy.
And they report some clear results from doing things this way.
Yeah, they share some impact points, like apparently 25% of their members were previously uninsured. Doctors spend significantly more time, like 3 times more, with members, partly because admin tasks are reduced by 65%, they say, thanks to the tech,
That's significant.
and much higher rates of screening for things like depression, 8 times higher. They're also growing rapidly, and they've got advisors from top tech and healthcare companies involved.
So Forward is really positioning itself as using technology and a fundamentally different business model to deliver proactive, accessible, comprehensive primary care, focusing on long-term health, not just sick care.
Exactly. It's a very different approach to how health management is incentivized and delivered.
Okay, let's move on to the Swiss Mountain Clinic. This one focuses on biological medicine.
Right. Swiss Mountain Clinic is presented as a premier clinic in the field of biological medicine. Their foundational belief is about treating the body as a whole system.
Holistic approach.
Yes, not just addressing isolated symptoms or specific diseases.
And their philosophy seems to revolve around strengthening the body's own natural defenses.
Exactly. They believe true healing comes from empowering the body's intrinsic capacity to fight disease. Their whole approach is centered on strengthening the body's systems so they can overcome health challenges naturally, aligning with what they see as, well, nature's design.
They have a structured program, often this 21-day individual treatment program. What's the thinking behind that structure?
Their highest priority within that program is diagnosis,
Huh.
but diagnosis with a very specific goal, finding the cause, the root cause of the symptoms.
Okay.
They really stress that because health issues are complex and individual, you have to understand the root before you can truly heal. So the first phase is this extensive holistic diagnostic process,
Right.
which then informs a completely individualized treatment plan tailored to those findings.
Their diagnostic list is quite broad and, well, interesting. What's on it?
It really is. It includes things like dark field microscopy.
What's that?
That lets them look at live blood samples under a microscope. They assess things like the health of blood cells, maybe the presence of microbes, also bioterrain analysis, iridology.
Looking at the iris of the eye?
Exactly, examining patterns there. They use something called oligoscan, which is a device used to check heavy metal load and mineral vitamin status in the tissues.
Hmm.
And then things like thermography, VNS analysis, specific dental diagnostics, standard lab work, of course, and even a parasite checkup.
So it's a real mix of conventional and less conventional tools.
Yeah, trying to get a really complete picture of the body's internal state and find those potential root causes.
And the therapies they use, they also cover a lot of ground.
They do.
Huh.
Once they feel they have that root cause understanding, they deploy a range of therapies aimed at detoxifying, rebalancing, and strengthening the body.
Like what?
Things like parasite detox, sometimes using frequency therapy, biophoton therapy, which uses light frequencies, colon hydrotherapy, Beamer, which is a physical vascular therapy to support circulation, various infusions for nutrients or detoxification, Oxyven, which is intravenous oxygen therapy, therapies they call mitoenergy, matrix regeneration therapy, and vital wave, and also traditional methods like therapeutic massage and enemas.
This approach really seems focused on cleaning up the body's internal environment and supporting its natural healing processes, often within a dedicated sort of retreat-like setting.
That seems to be a defining feature, yes. It's a comprehensive program designed to deeply address biological imbalances and really enhance the body's innate capacity for health.
Okay, finally, let's look at advanced rejuvenation. They're described as leaders in alternative and regenerative medicine.
Right. Advanced rejuvenation places a really strong emphasis on regenerative therapies and, well, complex alternative modalities. Their signature offering is called the Whole Body Rejuvenation Program.
And the goal is literally in the name.
Pretty much. The explicit aim is total body rejuvenation.
What does a program like that actually involve? What are the components?
It sounds like a very comprehensive package, designed to deliver multiple treatments, often in one session, or a condensed program. It typically starts with diagnostic scans, things like high-definition ultrasound for joints or the spine, and reviewing any existing MRIs or X-rays you might have.
Right.
A major component seems to be IV therapies. We're talking high doses of vitamin C, B vitamins, glutathione for detoxification, and specialized options they mentioned like Lumostem. They also highlight specific experience using IV ozone for chronic conditions.
Okay, IVs are big. What about other therapies?
The package includes a range of things. Their Rejuvox program, which seems to combine things like hormone support, medical ozone, and CVAC, that's a type of vascular conditioning.
Right.
Also, whole body cryotherapy, that's the extreme cold exposure,
Mm-hmm.
cold laser therapy, hyperbaric oxygen,
Breathing pure oxygen in a pressurized chamber?
exactly, to aid healing.
Yeah.
Plus naturopathic nutritional support and specific detoxification programs, including something called IV lipid exchange.
Hmm. And injection-based regenerative treatments sound like a really significant part of what they do.
Yes, this appears to be a core area for them. They use injections like platelet-rich plasma or PRP.
Using growth factors from your own blood.
Right. And also bone marrow, or BMAC, which stands for bone marrow aspirate concentrate injections.
Okay.
These are used in areas like major joints or damaged tissues. And they apply these regenerative techniques not just to musculoskeletal issues, but they also talk about regenerative cardiology, regenerative hormone therapy, and prolotherapy that's injecting irritants to stimulate healing. The goal is really using the body's own resources to restore tissue health.
They mention a philosophy about treating underlying infections or toxic causes before doing the regenerative care.
Yes, that seems to be part of their strategy. They believe you need to sort of clear the terrain first, address underlying issues to maximize the effectiveness of the regenerative treatments.
Are there any specific modalities or philosophies they really highlight within their approach?
Yeah, a few things stand out. They emphasize something called functional cranial release, or FCR.
What's that?
It's a technique aimed at balancing the brain and nervous system. They see that balance as fundamental to how the body handles stress and illness.
Okay.
They also use EW exercise with oxygen therapy. They argue that exercising while breathing high concentrations of oxygen can improve brain function and neuroplasticity by enhancing oxygen supply.
Interesting link between oxygen and brain healing.
And they highlight bone marrow stem cells, BMSC, as a particularly powerful tool to accelerate healing, especially in moderate to severe injuries or osteoarthritis, leveraging the body's most potent repair cells, basically.
It sounds like a very intensive, multi-pronged approach. Lots of different things happening.
It really does, combining advanced regenerative techniques with various alternative and detox therapies, all bundled into a comprehensive package. They also mention having their own handcrafted nutraceutical brands designed as advanced healthcare support.
And they make a point about their motivation and ethics.
They do. They explicitly state a commitment to ethics, honesty, quality, innovation, and revolutionizing healthcare.
Okay.
They emphasize their motivation is helping people achieve health and vitality, not just financial gain, and that they prioritize educating clients about alternatives to pharmaceutical drugs, focusing instead on natural preparations and the body's innate ability to heal.
Okay, wow. We've just taken a tour through 5 really different examples: Solongevity, the Cochrane Method, Forward, Swiss Mountain Clinic, and Advanced Rejuvenation.
Yeah.
It's quite a spectrum of approaches to health and longevity.
It really showcases the sheer diversity of thinking and practice that's happening in this space right now. You know, we saw Solongevity's super data-driven programmatic intervention model,
Okay.
Forward's tech-enabled proactive primary care, the Cochrane Method, bringing in bio-individuality and those energetic principles, and then Swiss Mountain Clinic and Advanced Rejuvenation, with their deep focus on biological medicine, detoxification, and these cutting-edge regenerative therapies.
Despite all these differences, though, are there common threads that you see running through them?
Yeah, I think there are some shared principles, even across such varied methods. A really strong emphasis on personalized approaches, tailored to the individual that's clear in almost all of them.
Okay.
They consistently aim to address underlying causes and system imbalances, rather than just suppressing symptoms. That's a big theme.
Right, getting to the root.
Exactly. Proactive health optimization and prevention are central, especially, you could say, for Forward and Solongevity. And they all leverage advanced diagnostics and therapies, although the specific tools they use vary dramatically, as we saw.
It feels like they're all pushing the boundaries of what healthcare can be, but maybe from fundamentally different starting points.
That's a good way to put it.
One focusing on data and mechanisms, another on energy and individuality, another on the whole healthcare delivery model itself, and others really diving deep into biological terrain and regeneration.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, hearing about this whole spectrum is really worth considering, what aspects of these different approaches resonate most strongly with you.
Yeah.
Does that idea of a super detailed, data-driven biological map and targeted programs appeal? Or maybe the concept of addressing health from an energetic and bio-individual perspective feels more aligned.
Or perhaps the idea of a technology-enabled partnership focused on proactive primary care. Or maybe a deep dive into biological detoxification and regeneration.
Right. These examples really provide a glimpse into the different frontiers being explored right now, all in the pursuit of optimizing health and potentially extending healthy lifespan. It's a landscape that's clearly still being mapped out.
And constantly evolving, I imagine.
Definitely.
So we've taken this deep dive entirely based on the source material you provided us, exploring these diverse examples of innovative clinics and methodologies.
And it really illustrates the multiple paths being forged in this, well, this exciting new era of health and longevity.
So considering this wide array we've discussed, from focusing on bio-individual energy fields and targeted genetic interventions to completely rethinking primary care with high-tech solutions and utilizing things like regenerative injections.
Mhm.
How might the future of health and longevity potentially blend these different paradigms? Or do you think highly specialized approaches like these will just continue to exist side by side?
That's the big question, isn't it?
And maybe most importantly, what does hearing about all this mean for how you think about your own health journey and the possibilities that might be out there for you?